This is TWiT.
Ubiquiti routers are again in trouble. Jim Troutman, who's the co-founder of an internet exchange point, NNENIX, which is the Northern New England Network Internet Exchange. He tweeted last Tuesday morning when we were doing the previous podcast, he said, "Heads up, Ubiquiti Networks devices are being remotely exploited via port 10,001 Discovery Service." So it's 1001 Discovery Service. It results in loss of device management, also being used as a weak UDP DDoS amplification attack. He wrote 56 bytes in, 206 bytes out. And he furthered that, he followed that tweet up saying that attackers are sending small packets of 56 bytes to port 10,001 on Ubiquiti devices, which are reflected and relaying the packets to a target's IP address amplified to a size of 206 bytes, which gives them an amplification factor of 3.67. So not a huge amplification factor, but still, if nothing else, it allows an attacker to obscure their IP address by spoofing the source IP and bouncing packets off Ubiquiti devices. And it turns out it's all Ubiquiti devices. I saw the list of the devices that were impacted, and it just looks like this is a standard feature of all Ubiquiti firmware, is to be deliberately discoverable with an unauthenticated UDP packet on port 10,001. And of course, we know that this is we've talked about UDP reflection attacks in the past. UDP, this discovery service, is deliberately designed to be lightweight, so it uses UDP. And as we know, UDP is lightweight specifically because it does no connection setup. There's no handshaking back and forth with ACK and SYN-ACK and ACK packets. It's just a simple UDP query that generates a reply. Well, that means that there's no way to verify the sender's source IP. The destination IP is just sent blindly, or the destination packet is sent blindly back to the source IP, which allows an attacker who's able to spoof their source IP and send traffic out of their network to bounce traffic off of those devices. So the guys at Rapid7 picked up on this tweet and did some quick sleuthing to figure out what was going on. So what they found was a little bit daunting. They said that they used a 4-byte packet and suggested that this meant an amplification attack of between 30 to 35 times. But I think they may not have been factoring in the per packet UDP overhead. So, of course, you're not actually able to send 4 bytes. You've got to wrap that in a UDP header and then the IP header, which all expands the size so that the effective amplification is much lower than that, because you need to wrap it in those things in order for it to go anywhere. Anyway, what they found was that their scan of the internet discovered, get this, 498,624 unique IPs answering with port 10,001 on UDP open. Of those, almost all of them, 487,021 unique IPs were confirmed to be answering this discovery protocol. And of those, again, almost all of them, 486,388 unique physical devices based on the MAC address tuples which were returned in this discovery protocol were found in the responses. So we have just shy of 500,000 confirmed Ubiquiti devices, wide open and ready to reflect and amplify, although albeit weakly, like almost about a factor of 4, a bandwidth flooding attack. And also, as has seen before with Ubiquiti devices, most of them are located in Brazil. There's the NanoStation, which had 172,563. The AirGrid was next largest with 131,575. Then it dropped to the LightBeam with 43,673. The PowerBeam with 40,092. The NanoBeam with 21,360. And the NanoBridge with 20,440. And then it continued dropping, diminishing across the entire Ubiquiti family. And what was a little somewhat more concern was that this discovery protocol was actually returning a wealth of information. What Rapid7 found was that a number of devices had, in addition to just being probed, they'd been hacked. 9,146 of them returned the device name hacked router help SOS had dupe password. Almost 4,000 said hacked router help SOS was MF worm infected. So
who's putting these titles in? The hackers?
Yeah.
Just like to be. I mean, doesn't that give them away?
Maybe good guys.
Yeah, maybe like the Japanese government. I don't know.
Yeah, that one said help SOS was MF worm infected, meaning we disinfected you 4,000 routers. And now we just thought we'd leave a little breadcrumb behind in case you check your device name and realize, oh, wait, 1,628 say hacked router help SOS default password.
Wow.
Whoops. 1,168 hacked router help SOS vuln EDB 39701. So apparently a vulnerability number.
So this sounds like an automated worm doing this, right?
It sounds like maybe somebody did turn something loose and fix these things. And a little over 1,000 said hacked router help SOS had default password, slightly different than default password. So it's but all of them start off saying hacked router help SOS. So probably one person who was going around finding and fixing these things and changing the device name in the process to say, you might want to give this a little attention. Wow. So anyway, this led Rapid7 to conclude that the attackers had also identified additional vulnerabilities, although actually we're now thinking, and I think you're right, Leo, these are not attackers. This is a white hat who was fixing these things and leaving some evidence behind. So if anyone is interested, this would be a good time. Ubiquiti has said that they are looking into updating their firmware with a fix for this.
Yeah, I'd look into it too if I were you.
Yeah,
let's look into that.
There is a command line. I've got it in the show notes here, and the link to it in also in the show notes. You can, if you get into your Ubiquiti management console, you use the command configure that puts it into configuration mode. So then the prompt changes to having a pound sign. Then you say set service ubnt-discover space disable. And yes, do that.
Yeah.
Then you say commit, COMMIT, which then writes it into the configuration. And then you want to back out of configure mode. There's no reason for this to be on. You're painting a flag on yourself. You're saying, hey, I got a Ubiquiti router, and so if at any and that the probe of that 10,001 port will tell the attacker all about your device. So that's not something you want to be advertising. That's just not good. So to all listeners, I mean, I have recommended the Ubiquiti Edge Router X, which was a stunning little powerhouse for $49 back in the day. I still think it's an amazing device because what was unique about it was that the ports on it, I think it was a 5-port device. Every one of them was a separate interface rather than being a switch, which allowed you to configure it and set it up for really good inter-port isolation to create very well secured domains with you using a $49 device. I mean, it's an amazing little tool. Unfortunately, they left this Discover service on all of them. So the takeaway is, by all means, update your firmware now and again if they don't have a fix for this yet. But in the meantime, disable this Ubiquiti Discover service. You don't want to be sending – in fact, no, shoot, it's not. I was going to say you could use Shields Up to check you, except that that's UDP, and Shields Up is a TCP scanner with the exception of the UPnP service, that port 1900 that I deliberately created for that purpose. And I just don't have time right now to add a test for a UDP test for 10,001. So anyway, you know who you are. If you have a Ubiquiti router, I would take some time to turn that service off because you don't want to be easily discoverable.
And just to reiterate, updating the firmware will not fix at this point because they haven't updated the firmware. So you gotta turn it off.
Yes, you want to turn it off. Yeah. And that's just in general. I mean, we've talked about being stealth. It's just a good thing. And here's something that's not just responding to a ping. It's saying, here's all this information about me.
What do you like to know?
Please discover me.
Hey,
it's like,
I've discovered you.
Bad idea.